Exclamation mark. 1. An exclamation mark is used to signal the expression of a strong emotion such as excitement, e.g. I can't wait. B. Panic. X, help me. 2. An exclamation mark is used to add an emphasis to the sentence. E.g. there's a fly in my soup. There's a fly in my soup. Ellipsis. 1. An ellipsis is used to show that the speaker has been cut off abruptly, interrupted. E.g., whatever you do, don't. 2. An ellipsis is used to indicate a trailing off in speech or thought. E.g., we could do this, or maybe that. Ellipsis is the singular form of the word, meaning one. Ellipses is the plural form of the word, meaning more than one ellipsis. The ellipsis is also known to some as ... because it consists of 3 periods, or dots, in a row. The first part of this lesson will focus on when to use ellipses in writing. The second part of this lesson will describe how to create ellipses on a word processor. When to use ellipses. Use an ellipsis to show an omission, or leaving out, of a word or words in a quote. Use ellipses to shorten the quote without changing the meaning. For example, after school I went to her house, which was a few blocks away, and then came home. Shorten the quote by replacing a few words with an ellipsis. Remember, the meaning of the quote should not change. After school I went to her house, and then came home. We removed the words, which was a few blocks away, and replaced them with an ellipsis without changing the meaning of the original quote. Use an ellipsis to show a pause in a thought or to create suspense. Suspense is when a reader is excited to know what is going to happen next. Examples. She opened the door and saw a cake. I was thinking, maybe we should call home. This use of ellipses is very common in informal, friendly letters and emails. Use an ellipsis to show a break, or trailing off, of a thought. Examples. I know I saw my keys somewhere. ... I'm not sure what to do. He said. I never thought. ... How to make an ellipsis. An ellipsis is made of 3 dots called ellipsis points. Ellipses are exactly 3 dots, not 2 or 4. On a word processor, type 3 periods with spaces in between. Period space period space period space. This type of ellipsis is usually used to show a pause or a trailing thought, as in the examples in Rules 2 and 3 above. Examples. She opened the door and saw a cake. I was thinking, maybe we should call home. Examples. I know I saw my keys somewhere. I never thought. ... I'm not sure what to do. He said. Many word processing programs will automatically create ellipses if you type 3 periods in a row. Just type a space, 3 periods, and a second space and move on to the next word. The ellipsis will look smaller than 3 spaced out periods. Correct. We went to the city, and arrived home after midnight. The word processing program automatically created an ellipsis when I typed 3 periods without spaces in between. If the ellipsis is in the place of a word or part of a sentence, leave a space on each side of the ellipsis. For example, without an ellipsis. We went to the city, shopped, ate lunch and arrived home after midnight. With an ellipsis, removing the words, shopped, ate lunch. We went to the city, and arrived home after midnight. 4. If the ellipsis is used to replace words at the end of a sentence, it should be followed by a period, question mark, or exclamation point to end the sentence. Use an ellipsis with a period to shorten a quote. If the ellipsis is followed by a period, then you will have 4 dots. For example, she said, "I like apples, oranges and bananas because they are all fruits." She said, "I like apples, oranges and bananas." 5. Use an ellipsis with a question mark after a trailing thought. Examples. Why would he do that? Where is she? 6. Use an ellipsis with an exclamation point to show excitement after a pause. Examples. Wow! I cannot believe you did that. In summary, the ellipsis is a form of punctuation used in writing the English language. It can be used to show an omission, to show a pause or create suspense, or to show a break in a thought. An ellipsis is made by using 3 periods in a row. Slash. 1 slash is used with fractions. E.g. 1/2 equals 1/2 e. g. 2/3 equals 2/3 2. Use a slash to separate the day, month, and a year in dates. E.g. he was born on the 18th of March 1987, Jane, 2008. Question mark. 1. Use question mark at the end of any direct questions. E.g. who is your teacher? 2. Use a question mark at the end of a tag question, a statement followed by a short question. E.g. you speak English, don't you? Question mark direct questions. The question mark is used at the end of a direct question. Indirect questions take a period. Direct question. What is she doing tonight? Indirect question. I wonder what she's doing tonight. Direct question. The question is, does anyone support this legislation? Indirect question. The question was whether anyone supported the legislation. Direct questions within a sentence. When a direct question occurs within a larger sentence, it takes a question mark. Note that in the examples below, the question mark supplants the comma that would syntactically belong in its place. Correct. Would they make it on time? She wondered. The key question, can the 2 sides reach a compromise? Was not answered. What are we having for dinner? His son asked. Incorrect. Would they make it on time? She wondered. The key question, can the 2 sides reach a compromise? Was not answered. What are we having for dinner? His son asked. As part of a title of work, in contrast with the examples above, when the question mark is part of a title of work, a syntactically necessary comma is retained. Note in the first example below that when the question mark is part of the title of a work that is set in italics, as it is in the cited novel, the question mark is italicized. The adjacent comma, which is not part of the title, is not italicized. The question mark that ends the example sentence below is not part of the title of the cited movie, so it is not italicized even though the movie title is. For more about using italics with titles of works, see here. Examples. Have you read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? The Philip Dick novel that inspired the movie Blade Runner? Is He Living or Is He Dead? By Mark Twain, is one of my favorite stories. When the question mark in the title comes at the end of a sentence that would itself require a question mark or period, the additional question mark or period is omitted. Correct. Have you read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? I have not read Mark Twain's Is He Living or Is He Dead? Incorrect. Have you read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? I have not read Mark Twain's Is He Living or Is He Dead? Requests that are phrased as questions should end with a period. These are really requests or commands, and not true questions. Example: would you please send this report to the person indicated on the cover? Expressing uncertainty: the question mark can be used to indicate editorial uncertainty, either in parentheses or in brackets. Some authorities include a space between the uncertain word and the opening parenthesis. Others omit the space, as shown in the example below. Examples: the patient reported taking 15 milligrams of alprazolam. According to his biographer, Smith bought the company in 1985, 1984, but he wasn't actively engaged in its management until 1990. Terminal punctuation chart: use of the question mark with other punctuation, including quotation marks, is explained in the section on terminal punctuation. Punctuation is essential and is used to convey and clarify the meaning of written language. It is such simple marks as the full stop or the comma, and the more complex ones of semicolons and hyphens. Getting punctuation wrong can change the entire meaning of a sentence. So, if you want to make sure your written English is understood, read on. Is punctuation in English important? Punctuation is essential and is used to convey and clarify the meaning of written language. It is such simple marks as the full stop or the comma, and the more complex ones of semicolons and hyphens. Getting punctuation wrong can change the entire meaning of a sentence. So, if you want to make sure your written English is understood, read on. Commas. Perhaps more than any other punctuation mark, the omission or improper use of commas can have confusing, hilarious, or even life-threatening consequences for your writing in English. Look at this sentence, with and without its comma. Let's eat Bob. Let's eat Bob. If you don't see why the comma is so important here, glance at your friend Bob as you read the first sentence. He should look extremely worried. He may even nervously start joking that a prime rib might be much tastier than a middle-aged Englishman. How about when we find an unnecessary comma in a phrase or sentence? A street sign that says, "No, U-turn," holds a very different meaning to the more regularly seen one reading, "No U-turn." In fact, the two sentences have opposite meanings. The Oxford comma comes after the penultimate item in a list of 3 or more things. Here is an example. The scarves were red, blue, and yellow. With or without the comma, the meaning doesn't change in this sentence. English speakers often argue over whether this type of comma is necessary. However, the Oxford comma can be extremely important in some situations. For example, you write, "I love my parents, Dolly Parton and Martin Luther King." On reading this, most English speakers will have a good chuckle imagining that your parents are Dolly Parton and MLK. Things are much clearer with the Oxford comma. I love my parents, Dolly Parton, and Martin Luther King. All 4 of them. Or this. For breakfast I had toast, eggs and orange juice. Blair. Try. For breakfast I had toast, eggs, and orange juice. Much more palatable. Quotation marks, aside from their use in speech and quotations from books, quotation marks are often used by writers to put distance between them and the words. It's the same as when we use air quotes to say we disapprove or disagree with something. So, if I put that this blog was written by a professional writer, that's quite an insult to me. Unfortunately, these quotation marks are overused in English and you will see them in lots of places they shouldn't be. Would you buy a sandwich that was made fresh? Or perhaps you would like to have a deep and meaningful conversation with a real person? No, me neither. Hyphens, like quotation marks above, hyphens are often misused in English, even by native speakers. Their importance is also underestimated, but they too can change the whole meaning of a sentence. Would you be able to tell the difference if your boss offered you these alternatives, 24-hour shifts or 24-hour shifts? In the former, your hours would be long. In the latter, you'd be doing a lot of short shifts. It's certainly worth checking the difference. Look at these two signs and decide which would make you be more cautious. Caution. Man-eating crocodiles. Caution. Man-eating crocodiles. If you're human, which I presume you are, then you should be more scared of the second one. If you're a crocodile, then it's the first. More punctuation. Two people might punctuate the same sentence in different ways to create meaning of their own. A university professor famously gave his class this sentence to punctuate: "A woman without her man is nothing." Before you read any further, try it yourself and ask yourself why punctuation is important here. Most of the men in the professor's class either didn't change the punctuation or added commas. A woman, without her man, is nothing. Pretty awful for women everywhere. Most of the women wrote this. A woman, without her man is nothing. Which side did you fall on? And finally, I'm a fan of Oxford commas, so here's another example to persuade you. Last night I saw the strippers, JFK and Stalin. The importance of punctuation. A way to give inappropriate professions to deceased world leaders.